I just want to say I can't believe how fast the Vikings defense is playing. In all the years of watching the Vikings, I've never seen them play this fast and this downhill. It is unbelievable to watch. They are completely dictating tempo to the opposing offenses. It's like they got 13 guys on the field sometimes. It's unbelievable.
Thank you for the talk back via the free iHeartRadio app. And welcome back to 9 to noon. It's like he said, it's like they're playing so fast they have 12 men in the huddle.
We got too many men out there.
No. You know who's not playing fast right now? Parker Fox.
That's so, huh?
Yeah. I mean,
play the slow game, huh?
No, it's off the radio, so therefore the public did not get a chance to hear it. But it's okay, and it was harmless. It was in harmless fashion. I understand.
Whoa!
But when you ask me, when we've talked about, how old are you?
I'm 25.
Okay,
yeah, I'm 25.
My daughter's 21,
yes.
And we've talked about her before at the University of Colorado and her travels and everything. And she's a senior out there, about ready to complete the undergraduate.
Heck yeah.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
Okay, well, 8 minutes ago you asked me.
Okay, hold on here.
No. Is your daughter still at the University of Colorado?
The key word there is still.
Well, yeah. What do you think? She's a fat L?
No,
I always love that.
She graduated early. I don't know. Yeah, just with
no, that's not it.
You being the father, there's a lot of intelligence. There's a lot of brains in the room.
I didn't go to college.
Oh, okay.
I went to junior college for 5 years. Okay, so there's not a lot of like what would be defined as intelligence in this room when it involves me. But we just talked about Coley, my beloved, last week, and the psychology, criminology, double minor or double major and CSI Miami and Criminal Minds and watching that and all that kind of stuff. And then you hit me with, is your daughter still at Colorado?
I always love that one.
Why do you think she's an L? She dropped within a week?
This is you and me on different wavelengths here. We're usually pretty locked in, but you're thinking it's an L. I'm thinking it's a W. I'm thinking it's a early
My question
graduate.
is,
I'm thinking
okay,
it's, I'm just seeing if she, I watched the Colorado game. Did you happen to watch any of that game?
Yeah, she was, the student section. I'll show you some pictures. The student section at Folsom Field. Just fantastic seats because it's such an intimate stadium. Mm-hmm. And she was FaceTiming me a lot with her friends from her seats, and they stay the whole game.
Yeah.
So, but we did have an L related moment from my daughter Nicole, where I don't know. I don't know if we have point whatever terrorism here. I don't know if she just wasn't paying attention to the score. But right as I was leaving Canterbury after calling the last race Saturday, about ready to go home, eat, rest, and go to the Vikings game, she FaceTimes me right before Colorado's play, Shador with the long pass to your guy. Mm-hmm. I forgot. Who cares?
Yeah.
Shador with the long pass.
It was Wester, I think, that got that touchdown.
You're right. Yes,
and she's screaming into the phone, "We won."
I always love that one.
We won.
I always love that one.
And then the connection dropped.
Oh, no.
All right. So then I look at the score real quick, and I go, Coley, the game's going to overtime. You tied. And then she sends me back, sorry, I'm such an L. Okay. So there was part, like how you started that had some L to it, but it finishes with that type of L. And to answer your question, much to the pride factor as a dad, or the content that's available for 3 to 6:30 today. Yes, she did. She did storm the field. She did run on the field after the game with a bunch of knucklehead kids for beating who'd they beat? Baylor, yeah, for beating Baylor. So yes, have you ever stormed a field in your in the life of rubidity that is Parker Fox?
I don't think I have.
2019 Penn State.
My brother was there. My brother and dad were there, but I was in Aberdeen.
Does your brother punt for the Detroit Lions? Is he Jack Fox?
He does not.
Oh,
he
wow.
does not. Although there's maybe a relative out there, who knows? But
right.
I did not get to storm that day, although I wish I would have been there. I was busy in Aberdeen, South Dakota, playing for the Northern State Wolves, but my brother and dad were there, so I got pictures and I got videos and all that. So I was there in spirits, I guess.
Hey, and in spirited fashion, and the abnormal nature of the way some things are transpiring in the NFL. Some would say the Minnesota Vikings at 3-0 would be abnormal. I wouldn't call it abnormal, but it's the unpredictability and the routes that are being taken to get to not just winning games against teams, but killing them in certain facets of games. And you being an athlete, I think you'll get this. I think you'll get this really well. There are certain moments of games where tide can turn, things can sway, and they're getting sacks, they're getting interceptions, they're getting third downs on 3rd and 8 with Jefferson out of the game, Addison not suited up, and Jalen Naylor like moonwalking his way to a first down like he did against the Niners with not preseason, but secondary option type personnel out on the field. All right, so there may be some abnormal to that, who knows. But how about this, man? Your Carolina Panthers go on the road and win a football game.
Yeah, and Andy Dalton looks phenomenal.
Great, but I mean, the Raiders go on the road and beat Lamar Jackson. Then they come home, cock of the walk. We're all fat and happy. Got Dana White in the 5th row. We can't lose. And then they lose to Carolina. Malik Willis. How about this, man? I mean, they kicked him out of the Covenant, after drafting him from Liberty. And the new coach and the new general manager have nothing to do with Will Levis. But nevertheless, that's our lot in life right now, and we're going to give him the best chance we can. We're going to go get Calvin Ridley. We're going to draft this guy. We got DeAndre. We're going to run play action off Tony Pollard, who we think we can do some more things with than King Henry. And Malik rolls into Nashville in front of all the fans who wanted him to leave the Covenant and wins the game and looks efficient, and he's running like secretariat around the field. I mean, what an unbelievably kind of abnormal but cool moment for Malik Willis, but negative moment for the Tennessee Titans. And good morning.
Yeah, I obviously, when the Vikes are on, I'm not worried about anything else.
I didn't watch a second of the game.
Especially when it comes to green and gold, because I can't stand it.
All you have to do is feel the aura, Parker.
Yeah, no doubt.
Feel the aura.
No doubt. But I look at what Malik, Willis did. He carried the ball 6 times for 73 yards. He threw for 202 yards and a touchdown. And just like that, the Green Bay Packers win a 2-score game against Tennessee Titans. Obviously, Tennessee's struggling right now. They don't really have a whole lot going on for them. Obviously, D-Hop is great, but he's on the, back end of his career. Calvin Ridley is supposed to be a pretty good talent. Only had, 1 catch, I think, in that game, 3 targets. So, I don't know where they're going to get it from. It's definitely not from Will Levis. But we'll see how that kind of transpires there down in Tennessee. It's not looking good, I'll tell you that much.
The LA Rams are down Cooper Kupp, Puka Nacua, 2 or 3 of their offensive linemen starters.
Yeah, it's awful there.
Now, the Niners, they were down Debo and Kittle. Okay, and that all stuff popped over the weekend. But the Niners always win at SoFi.
Yeah.
And, I got home in time yesterday to listen to the game with Greg Papa, my guy, the Niners Vox, calling it on my drive home. And you could hear the 49ers had at least 60% of that stadium monopolized. Yeah. But they never lose to the Rams at SoFi, all right? And the Rams beat them. So now the Niners are 1-2. That has some abnormal to it. Atlanta gave every single thing it had last night, just couldn't get by the immortality that is the Kansas City Chiefs.
Yeah, right there. And I thought Kirk played a great game as well. I thought that was a good game, and I thought it came down to the wire. I actually I went to bed, so I didn't stay up to watch the end of it. We actually have our winners week this week as a team. And
what's that mean?
We're up at 5:30 every morning, and it's Monday through Friday, and it's all of us basically going through what we call winners week, and it's about an hour to an hour and 15 minutes of conditioning. So we started day 1 this morning. So the body's already feeling it as I sit here in this chair. So I didn't get to finish the Falcons game, but I went to go back and watch.
Did you see the end of it? The highlight of Pitts and the clear pass interference in the end zone?
Yeah. How do you miss that?
After the producer may have put a couple of dollars on Kirk to cover in prime time. And then the 4th down run play was such an awful decision given the stone wall that Bijan had just been pounded against. I think he ended 16 runs for like 30 yards. It was a disastrous play. Atlanta was nuts and bolts. They got screwed.
Yeah, the Falcons have a good defense, and it's getting better game by game. But the immortality of the Chiefs. They won a game against the Vikings like that last year. I mean, where the Vikings outplayed them a fair amount of the game, and then you're like, what happened? And then you leave, and you're like, damn, man, it feels like you won, but you lost, you know?
How does this keep happening to the Chiefs, too? You know, like, I'm not saying there's any, situation where it's like, the refs are calling some, blind PI calls or whatever it may be, but it's like, this has gone on for several years now here, where it's like, the team is better. Like, I thought the Falcons were a better football team last night, and the Chiefs come out with a win. And obviously that happens in sports sometimes, but it's like you said, Nordo, there's situations where it's just like, this team should have scored in this situation, and they don't because of some underlying circumstance, and that causes them to lose the football game in prime time, and Kurt goes down as another guy that can't win in prime time again, and you hear all of it on Twitter. But I don't know. I guess I'm sick of the Chiefs, so I don't know where I'm coming from here.
With Winners Week, how's my man Dawson Garcia?
Dawson's great. Yeah, Dawson's great. He was actually just celebrating his 23rd birthday, so happy birthday to Dawson.
Well, we got like the oldest team in the Big Ten, don't we?
Do. We got to start.
Average age is 27.
We got to start adding up ages here, because
you guys might as well sign Evan Eschmeyer, have him play at like age 45. He played at Northwestern for 8 years. He might have a year of eligibility left.
You can find it somewhere, right? But no, he's doing great. He was locked in this morning. He's such an emotional leader for us. Obviously, he's a high level talent, and he's a guy that he can go get you 35 points. Not a lot of people can do that. So people look to him for answers, and he leads by example. He's not a guy that's going to go out there with his words crazy and hype people up, but the example he sets every day is inspiring for especially younger guys coming into the program.
After I met him at the 49ers game, has he asked about me?
Of course he has. Come on, PA. Of course he has.
We don't lie in the covenant.
I'm sure he has.
We don't lie in the covenant.
He's been gone. He had a birthday weekend.
Okay, well, we're happy for his birthday. I'm about ready to blow out his candles and rip him if he hasn't asked about me. I'm just kidding. Has he asked about me a little bit? No.
Yeah.
I'm going to, so I've been in contact with somebody we mutually know, Dr. David Olson.
Oh, he's the best.
Broadway Clinic.
Yes.
So I'm going to come over there and pull for you guys a little bit.
I would appreciate it. Speaking of Dr. Olson here, I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Obviously we haven't heard,
great. A Darnold MRI question coming.
I have a Darnold MRI question.
Those are always comfortable.
And forget about the MRI itself. If it is something, are we bringing in someone?
No.
That's my question. Okay.
No, why?
Mullins?
Well, I see what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, Jaron went to play at the Cappuccino Capital. Well, yes, you would have to. Excuse me.
Yes.
You would have to.
Okay.
Depending on the severity of whatever. But, I mean, he left, and then he walked off, and then he came back in and was pounding on it.
Yeah.
So I think the MRI is precautionary. But then again, nobody, including the coaching staff, knew J.J. McCarthy was hurt during the Raiders game.
It's true. That's true.
And all of a sudden it's like, what? We went from this? So he throws a pick, all right, and then the kid's unflappable. And then he comes back and tears it up. And then all of a sudden it's just gone. It's just taken away.
Yeah.
I mean, so we know what that feels like.
Yeah, no doubt.
I don't think this will be a situation
and
like that.
And I don't think so either. And I think, if for
that'd
a guy
be unbelievable.
It would be
bad news.
It would be terrible. Yeah. And I think as a guy that's had some knee injuries.
Well, now you got me sweating it a little bit.
I wasn't
even thinking about it, bro.
But it's just the way my brain works. When I see knee injuries, man, it's like, as a guy that's been through two of them, it's like, they can be so brutal. And I
Knees?
think, yeah, the knee injury. And I think the way Sam kind of responded, he went in that, blue tent and he was out of there in no time. And actually, I don't know if you probably saw it with the binoculars up there, but I heard he was cutting back and forth and they were testing some jumping and some cutting. And I guess he was more than confident enough to go back on the field. So, you usually use those MRIs for just precautionary reasons. Obviously, you kind of have to, but I don't expect him to be out. But just kind of was curious on what you thought about bringing in like a Ryan Tannehill or one of those situations.
Well, now we're going down that road.
It's just a name, Yeah. You can throw whatever name you want in there.
Well, I mean,
I chose Ryan Tannehill, I guess.
If you flirt with Ryan Tannehill, then that means your quarterback's done for the year. Next level 10, he ain't coming anyway. He's made a lot of money during his career. A lot of money. And he's completely content from what I understand, because the Packers might have been chasing after him a little bit when they settled for Malik Willis. They're 2-0 with Malik Willis.
They are.
Seriously. And we're next segment, our final segment, I want to get into that border battle a little bit with you. But like when Daniil was pushed into, or I haven't watched the playback yet, but however it awkwardly happened with Sam the Man on the Fan, it sucked for a minute, and I wasn't, looking at like redzone.org or freeagenciesdujour.com to see who was available. No, I put my binoculars on, I think it was section 124, row 8, J.J. McCarthy.
And he was tweeting the whole game, too. Did you see that?
And I was just like, wow, this is unbelievable, this whole thing. We've never seen anything like it. And now the guy orchestrating the offense is down. So the binoculars swing over here, and there's young JJ. And I'm like, there's young JJ. Future looks bright. So bright, Parker Fox might think he needs to wear shades. And then I saw Sam pop up, and I'm like, all right, Jay, somebody get JJ some popcorn, man, and we'll just watch the rest of this game.
Time to relax a little bit.
Darnold's been terrific. The rookie quarterbacks, started to catch stride a little bit yesterday. Caleb's yards per attempt was closer to 10 than it was 0. A yards per attempt of 4 through 2 games. That's Bryce Young-esque. Bo Nix had some good moments yesterday, specifically with his legs. Jaden Daniels plays this evening. These kids, including McCarthy, they're too talented to be L's, despite Chicago's bad offensive line, the anti-Vike running the Broncos, or the Commanders just being the Commanders, man. They just always mess things up.
Yeah.
The 3 that we mentioned, then you can put McCarthy in there and Drake May. I mean, these are highly skilled and coveted players. They're all going to be okay.
Yeah, and I looked at a stat. I think it said there was 196 passes made by these rookies and 0 touchdowns going into Sunday. So I think that
it was a record.
Yeah, it was a record, and I think that did flip. But there was actually a unique thing that our coach showed us that C.J. Stroud said, and it was I think they kind of replayed it during the game. And I don't remember the exact
podcast bit.
The podcast bit was great.
Unbelievable.
Sure. Yeah, that was phenomenal.
He's listening to Roshan Johnson or somebody's podcast.
Yes.
And he got tells out of it.
Yeah, and that's exactly what Coach Johnson put up on our big screen before practice last week. And he was basically like, his message was be a student of the game, be a guy that loves the game.
That's completely directed at you.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, because you go on KFAN so frequently, he's worried some extension of passing game is going to be shared into a game at West Lafayette. The coach is going to pick up on it. We're going to take an L.
We're not talking ball screen coverage, PA. We can't talk ball screen coverage, or else I'll be kicked out of here.
The best.
But no, I think C.J. Stroud kind of hit the nail on the head. Obviously, he said he had a great year last year, but he didn't know exactly what he was doing, and it took him a year in the NFL to understand, different defensive schemes and things that guys are doing. And it didn't look that way against Brian Flores' defense on Sunday. But obviously, C.J. is a tremendous talent and a guy that's going to be successful in this league for a long time.
Well, and he won the Rookie of the Year last year.
Yeah, no doubt.
But I've watched back some of his plays. It was against Green Bay. I haven't watched yesterday yet. Anthony Richardson has some fat L to him. Yeah. Now his arm's so strong, and he's so Roethlisberger-esque when you hit him with the strong legs and the strong midsection. Very difficult to bring down. But he doesn't weave or slide, Now granted, my man's played like 7 games.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's absolutely super gifted. But the L that he has to him is like the freak out factor's 9 of 10 when he freaks out, and he throws an unbelievable amount of picks, Anthony Richardson.
Well, yeah, and he's a guy that, obviously like we mentioned, he's, tremendous in the run game. I think that's why he was such a high fantasy football pick for a lot of people. They wanted his run game talent, but a guy that wants to survive as a quarterback in this league, you got to start getting out of bounds. You got to start getting down, because there's too many big dudes on that defense, and nothing I would want to deal with. I'll tell you that much.
So, in closing here for this segment, because it's of the negative variety, and this is a celebratory Monday, as you will find out next segment.
You bet.
What was it like Saturday night? Like when that tidal wave started to hit you, and the metaphorical undertow was so bad you couldn't get up. Mm-hmm. What was that like?
Well, it's funny because I thought we looked solid to start. Obviously, you go into an Iowa-Minnesota game, you're expecting field possession stuff. You're expecting a lot of punts. You're expecting running the football, but we kind of opened it up and we kind of let Max Brosmer kind of work in the passing game, and it didn't work for us early, but we ended up being up 14-7 going into the half. Had a great halftime hanging out with some former Gophers. Chris Ottman-Bell was in there.
Nice.
Several guys that it was just great to see them come back and support the program. And then next thing you know, the second half hits, and I got a little cold, and Iowa started putting the ball in the end zone. I decided to put the AirPods in and turn on Mike Grimm and bike back home. So it was a tough second half, especially not watching it.
Your life.
And hearing Mike Grimm, call Iowa in the end zone again.
Yeah, I love your life.
It stinks. It's never fun to lose to Iowa. It's never fun to lose the Pig, but I think this team has some life in them, and it's a great opportunity to go into the Big House this Saturday and play another football game, because if you're a competitor, what else do you want, right? Like, you want another chance to play a good football team, and this is the defending champs you get to play this weekend. So hopefully they find a response and bounce back.
Well, my friend, next segment, you'll get the opportunity to opine on this. Parker Fox 24 via the tweet machine. He joins 9 to noon each and every Monday, and here he is. Excellent work by Eric Nordquist with the Monday morning montage to Brother Johnson's stomp. The Vikings stomped on the Houston Texans. I know you follow the game very closely. Stream your consciousness, Parker Fox. You're an elite sports mind. What's on your mind about, like, what is this? Where did it come from? Who gets the most credit? Does anybody really need to get the most credit? What's like the origin for what's happening right now? What happened? Are you thinking like that?
I am, and I think you're right about what you said. No one needs to get the most credit, because a great team, a team that wants to win Super Bowls, there's you don't play that way. And I think we saw that from the jump. I think we came out hot. Obviously, a huge deflection at the line of scrimmage set up that interception, and then a great job by the offense being ready and going scoring the football. I think 7's so much better than 3 in that position. It sets up the whole game. It sets up everything you want to do, whether that's offensively, defensively, special teams. You go and score a touchdown there, and you set the tone of what this football team is going to be today. And I think the way KOC has kind of been a mastermind of our offense already this season has been one of the most fun things for me to watch as a fan. Obviously, you sit down for that game and you're a little nervous. Houston's coming in. They're 2-0. They got, talent all over the field. CJ Stroud, Stephon Diggs. They got a beast in a receiver, Nico Collins. Tank Dell is an up and comer. And then a wily vet like Robert Woods as well. Like, they got a lot of pieces across the board, and you're a little nervous about what's coming in, but then you set the tone early, and you just dominate from there on out. I am almost, sitting on the couch and I wanted more. I was like, can we get another one before the half? Can we get up 28? Can we get more? And I think
Dawson Garcia watched the game with humility.
Yeah.
He was feeling bad for CJ Stroud, a brother. And he was just wishing it would stop and just get out of here with the W.
Yeah.
So go ahead.
Yeah. I guess some people, I have a little bit of that in me, but when it comes to my Vikes, I have none of it. I don't want to see any of it. I don't want to hear any of it.
What the heck are you going to be like next week with a game at Lambeau? You're going to be all wound up.
Man, I don't know. I'm not going to be able to sleep the night before. I'm going to be so juiced up. But I'm happy we're in there in September and not in January, because actually my dad got to go to a Vikes Packers game in Lambeau in the cold, and said it was one of the coolest experiences. So that'll be something I have to do eventually. Still haven't been to Lambeau Field yet, but really don't have any.
It's football Americana.
Yeah,
you're a snob.
Great.
You have to go.
And I'm sure, awesome. I'm sure I would love it, and I'm sure it's one of the coolest places. But there's too much green and gold, and I don't like green and gold. So, but nonetheless, I just think the way this defense came out and played, and I guess I'll ask you this, PA. This defense, is it as good as the 2017? Does it have the possibility, the capability, everything across the board to be as good as the 2017 defense? Nordo, what do you think?
Nordo's a 2017 defense snob.
Okay.
He references it a lot and has for years because of the run defense. Which you had to have
of course.
at a certain part of the season after you lose Dalvin Cook, so game shape has changed.
Yeah.
And if they're just going to run on you, then you're going to have a problem. But how would you handle that question, Mr. Nordquist?
Well, the key is ultimately is what you saw in 2017 from that defense was it was not just the best scoring defense in the NFL, and the Vikings have to be top 2 or 3 right now after what they've been doing the last 3 weeks.
You mean points allowed?
Yeah, scoring defense. I think they're second or third maybe right now.
Behind Pitt, second behind Pitt.
There you go. But the thing that was different in 2017 thus far, it's only been 3 games. The Vikings were more suffocating from a total yard standpoint, and you were only allowing 3.9 a carry on the ground. Best passing defense in the NFL, and that's still kind of to be seen. I think through 3 games, ultimately Brock Purdy, you stifled him, you stymied him, you whooped his butt. He still put 300 yards up, and albeit through a butt kicking of a different kind of what they did to the Texans yesterday, they found their way to about 3 and change total offense. But it is in terms of attacking the QB. In terms of confusing them, it is truly the first time since 2017, I think, where you're watching quarterbacks back there and the bank's on fire, right? The crowd noise. I mean, I have never heard so many fans over the last 2 weeks talking about the noise at the bank and just the cacophony and the constant din of people losing their minds in favor of the purple. But the quarterbacks, whether it was Stroud yesterday or it was Purdy a week ago, these guys look confused as hell out there. And that really, and I think that was kind of towards the end of Zimmer. At some point, people started to forget because they were frustrated. There was bitterness, and ultimately he's no longer here. People forget about the defenses that Zimmer put on the field.
Yeah.
You know, and Dallas is kind of trying to hope, and right now they're failing to recapture some of that magic. But Zimmer put some of the best defenses that Vikings fans had seen since the Purple People Eater days on the field, 2017 being the prime example of it. But Flores specifically, like in the red area and on third downs, if you're looking at those as 2 focal points of what makes a great defense, Flores' crew, plug and play. This guy's out injured. We're going to put Grugier Hill in, and suddenly he's making plays. They are money in the red zone, and they're money on third down, and you're getting to see these butt kickings like we have been.
Yeah, and I think, like you said, obviously this Vikings team has kind of been built on defense for the past, whatever many years. And it's obviously a staple in what we do. Obviously Flores is a guy that, he's so talented in what he does. I guess I'll ask you this. Do you think that, like, let's say Flores leaves next year or whatever it may be? Obviously, I want it to get done this year. Let's win a Super Bowl, and then whatever happens. But if Flores leaves for a head coaching job next year, do you think that scheme kind of changes? Do you think that defensive, ability changes, or what do you think it looks like? And then, on that question, does that lawsuit almost help us as a Vikings defense to keep Flores around? Like, how does your brain kind of process that?
Well, I think at some point because it does feel like, and I don't know this to be true.
Yeah.
There has to be a punitive element of this kind of under the covers. Now, the defense last year as D coordinator, it ascended and then it kind of plateaued. And I think that was kind of a lack of depth and talent, which we've seen a reversal of via the offseason and the new guys in the building. But I was super shocked, like most people, I think. We had talked about this last year. Is it a one and done? Is Flores going to immediately go? And nobody sniffed. There were no interviews. There were no going down the road of the interview process. I truly believe that there's a punitive element in the NFL with the lawsuit, how things were handled with the Dolphins at the end, and was Stephen Ross truly offering him cash to throw games? Like there's a lot of things I think that NFL owners are like, in the same way of a controversial player, whether it's justified or not, they're like, maybe we just don't want to deal with this right now. I think at some point that ends and he'll have another opportunity. Or is it just we're in the trend now of everyone hires offensive coaches? We want the next guy from the McVay tree, like O'Connell or Zach Taylor in Cincy, versus going to a harder, grittier, defensive-minded coach. I can't get there yet though, because if he leaves, to your point, Parker, I believe the defense there's a spirit of it that will change. Absolutely.
Yeah, for sure.
I can't get there. People want to. Do we got to give Sam Darnold $5 and $200 million now? I mean, we're already projecting so far into the future. I'm riding this 3-0 vibe.
I love it.
You put the winner in Winners Week. Thank you very much for stopping by. Parker Fox 24 via Twitter. Parker Fox 24 via Twitter. He's a weekly guest Mondays 9 to noon. When 9 to noon continues, a truncated sneak peek at fresh meat. The meat would be the Green Bay Packers. Don't leave.
Yeah.
All right, who's next in the firing line?
Sneak peek at fresh meat.
Jacobs to his right. Reed in motion to the right side. And faking the handoff. Willis on a bootleg to the right side. Makes the turn to the end zone. He's in for the touchdown. Malik Willis on a 5-yard touchdown scamper around the right end. And the Packers strike first.
Sneak peek at fresh meat.
How about that? Malik Willis handling business. A team without Jordan Love gets 2 victories the last couple of weeks against a couple of fledgling AFC South teams. But regardless, PA, what I'm looking for into this border battle here is I want to see how the Vikings can handle, whether it's Love or Willis, Josh Jacobs and this Emmanuel Wilson cat who's averaging 5 yards a carry. Marshawn Lloyd was injured. Watching that aspect of it, their rushing attack the last through 3 games has been absolutely fantastic and crushing, leading them to victories, specifically the last 2 against the Colts. You can run for a mile on them, I get it, but the Titans game yesterday as well. I'm looking at that, and for a team that had even or better turnover margins through 3. You hit people with that stat. Kevin O'Connell, 20-0 in his tenure as Vikings coach when the turnover margin is tied or in the Purple's favor. The Packers defense, including a pick 6 from Jair Alexander yesterday, they've generated 9 turnovers through 3 games. So turnover-free football, how do the Vikings handle that rushing attack? And we'll get to see later on this week whether it's Willis or Jordan Love. But stopping the run and not giving them the ball, the freebies, that's going to be a part of my conversation and thought process into the border battle this weekend.
It is a TCO Tuesday tomorrow. 9 to noon originates from Twin Cities Orthopedics Performance Center. It's our Tuesday home, the Vikings facility, which means the Scribe from the Star Tribune at 10 o'clock. Kevin O'Connell joins at 11 a.m. For our elongated marathon chat. So make sure you tune into that tomorrow. David Sinekin, no border battle today. He's traveling back from Indiana where he went to visit his children. And he will be at the Friday football feast, Buffalo Wild Wings, Coon Rapids this Friday. Hopefully you'll join too. For Nordo, I'm Paul Allen. Thank you very much for listening to 9 to noon. Now it's time to put a wrap on the shop.
What do we got here? They're 3-0. See if we can do this here. Here's the wrap. From Spain to Maine and down in Curacao, Vikings fans are like, what do you think of me now? Scrambling on how to rhyme with 3-0. Like KO, B-Flow, maybe even Serpo. Needed earmuffs, the bank was so loud. Flummoxing and vexing one CJ Stroud. Texans feelings like they got kicked in the Menards after a 3-pack of sacks by Grenard. And it was hard just to see this thing coming. Even the most optimistic of harp string strumming. But now, got to strap in tight to the saddle. 4-0 after a badass border battle. But before we go, key left, Buffalo 7 heaven. Got to go to TCO and chat with Kevin. Undefeated and all feeling just fine. Be sure to join us tomorrow. We go live at 9.
Sneak peek at fresh meat.
Podcast today's Paul Allen Show or listen back to previous show and interviews by going to the iHeartRadio app or KFAN.com.